What's up guys, Johnny here, welcome back. Today I got something really exciting for you. I'm checking out a brand new Byte video transmitter. It's the VTX 5R.2 video transmitter. Alright guys, so if you remember way back when I did my first Byte video, it was back I think in March of 2021, I mentioned that it was the single most exciting new piece of technology in drone racing. To me, it looked like it was the future of drone racing. It brings a lot of nice features, but at the time there's a few things kind of holding it back from being widely adopted. Fast forward 6 months later and we've seen a lot of new developments. We're starting to see a lot of excitement about Byte. Me personally, I've been flying Byte almost exclusively at the track for the last 1 to 2 months. I find it personally that I don't want to fly analog anymore. It's not that analog doesn't do well. It's not that I think Byte gives me a competitive advantage at all. I just think that I can be equally as fast with both of them, and when I'm flying Byte, I'm having more fun. I don't know about you, but when I go out to race, my #1 goal is I want to have fun. I want to have a good time. Racing around with friends in HD, seeing that beautiful quad that you're trying to chase down to catch them, and you have that beautiful picture in there, seeing the gates clearly, it just makes the whole thing so much more enjoyable for me. I really can't stress enough, when you're chasing someone down in HD versus analog, the clarity that you see in their quad just makes you that much more excited to chase them down and catch them, versus that kind of just blocky pixel you see in analog. So for me, I feel super excited that Byte's finally getting to the point where we can have a lot of fun. Most of that made honestly true by getting the new HDZero Runcam camera. We'll talk about that soon in a new upcoming video, but for now we're talking VTXs. Today I'm launching this video. It is currently Monday, November 1st, and today is the day that you can actually get your hands on these VTXs right here. They're going for a sale. I think 12 o'clock Eastern is what I've been told. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video right there. I had a chance to talk to the HDZero guys, and they've let me know that this new VTX is not just going to be available at the HDZero website like the microcam was. Instead, they're actually partnering with a bunch of different resellers to sell it through there. In particular, I've been told that 533 will have it in stock today, November 1st, available to ship along with their Switchback Zero frame. So if you're looking to be racing with Byte, the best overall setup you can get is going to be available from 533. I'll have a link down below if you want to get it, but make sure to go ahead and pick up this VTX there. And while you're at it, you might as well grab one of the frames that goes perfectly with it. So anyway, just wanted to add that, and it's back to the video. On the HDZero website, I'm not sure how many they're going to have. They're going to sell through them all like they did the HD cameras, but you can now finally get these in your hand. Now, I want to talk about this VTX a little bit, and I want to talk about kind of the journey we've had with Byte VTXs. Back when I did my first video, I was flying in a tiny trainer. The tiny trainer was running this right here, which is the 5XS.1, which was kind of the first Whoop style board that worked for Byte. And this thing works amazingly well in that tiny trainer. I've had it running in my tiny trainer since I think it was January or February, so probably 8-9 months now. It's been rock solid. In fact, most of my HD racing that I have done has been in a 5-inch that has this board in it. Now the challenge is, because it's a 25.5 by 25.5 mounting pattern, it doesn't fit very well in a lot of modern racing quads that are running 20 by 20 stacks. So what we saw was Byte put out the 20 by 20 stack. Now this one you might have seen various videos on. They call it the dining room table. It's a long boy. Now what I can say about this is that if you look at a given Byte video transmitter, they all have certain things in common. All right, and that's these 3 different chips that you'll find on here. So if you look at the standard Whoop board, it's very clear. There's the 3 chips right there in front of you. 1, 2, 3. That's the core of the DiviMath system that's powering the Byte system. If you go and you look at the long boy here, the VTX R 5.1, you'll see that on the top you have one of those chips, and if you flip it over on the bottom, you'll find the other 2, the same exact chips that you're seeing when you're looking at the 5S.1. Now that's really been the key constraint in trying to make one of those video transmitters. You can't get rid of those chips, you can't make it any smaller, and you have to fit it in that 20 by 20 form factor. Therefore, the original release went for a narrow build to try to provide protection for it inside of a build. So if you look at it right now, I had this installed in a 533 HD switchback, and you can see that there's no exposed pieces on the sides, and because that frame is designed for DJI, it's plenty long enough, because it has to make room for the air unit or the air unit light, and you can see that it fits in there quite well. However, when you put this thing into other racing frames, I mean, particularly the Switchback Pro standard one, it's not going to fit. Or even if you try to put it inside of my standard racing frame, which is the Floss 3 Lite, it's a really tight fit. These connectors on the ends, they actually bump to where my antenna is. I had to flip it halfway around to try to get it fitted at all. There's very little exposed as far as the top goes, but it doesn't fit very well front to back. So therefore, there was kind of a going back to the drawing boards, and that's this board here. Now, the first thing you'll notice when you take it out is it's not a small VTX, right? So I think a lot of people were expecting that they took this board here and they just shrunk it down and made it less long, and that'd be a really small, compact VTX. Everyone would love that. It would fit in width-wise, length-wise in every racing frame. That's not what you're going to find here. Instead, what you're going to see is they took relatively the same amount of material, and as they squished down the VTX, it kind of expanded out, and it's a little bit wider. Now, the current width, it's not bigger than an ESC, a 4-in-1 ESC. The 4-in-1 ESC in your build is most likely going to be larger. So bear that in mind. But if you look here at my current build, my Floss build that has this installed in it, you'll see that the width does stick out a little bit. I think that's okay, and mostly because I think that by far the most popular racing frame right now, which is the Switchback Pro, has been updated to a Switchback Zero model, which is designed specifically for this VTX and the HDZero camera. Those two combined make the absolute perfect racing build, in my opinion, using the same arms that you already have if you're flying a Switchback Pro, and it fits in there perfect, it's well protected. So to me, because HDZero was able to work closely with 533 to bring out a product with a frame that are both matched perfectly for each other, I think the size is absolutely perfect. Now, if we go ahead and we get a weight on these things, just trying to compare what is it like depending on which of these you're running. First, let's look at the dining room table. So that comes in at roughly 7 grams. All right, so that's about what you're putting out there for the VTX here. Now, if we look at the new square kitchen table, if you will, you can see right there it's coming in at about 6 grams. So you're saving almost 1 gram in weight, which is really nice. And just for comparison's sake, if you look at the original Whoop board, right, 5.7 grams, so another 0.3, 0.4 grams lighter. So this is going to be your lightest option. But looking at these two, you know, they are very similar. The one thing I do like in the Whoop board is it does have these rounded edges that you don't really need, versus this one here has components going to the very edge. So the components on the edge of the board, given that a lot of racing frames are a little bit narrower, makes me a little nervous that in crashes and flights, we might start knocking some of these corner components off. I hope that's not the case, but I am a little bit concerned. But again, to me, because we can have the more compact frame that we see in the Switchback Zero, the fact that it's a little bit wider, because the Switchback Zero is a little bit wider to make up for it on the top plate, it's fully protected. I don't think you should be knocking those things off if you're flying the frame that's designed for it. And because this form factor fits better in most racing frames, I feel like this is a key upgrade over the dining room table. Now, that brings us to, you know, what do these have that the Whoop board doesn't? And really that comes down to two things to me. One is smart audio. Now, smart audio or frame telemetry or any other way to communicate, I don't really care. But the key is that from our flight controllers and therefore from our transmitters, we can actually send signals to these boards to change power output levels, to change channels, etc. So that means if you have to change channels when someone else is plugged in and powered on, you could have your VTX power turned off, but still change the channel so that next time you power up, it's going to go to the channel that you want to be on. So it's really nice to not have to have the goggles on, see yourself changing channels, but just go directly to it. Now, the other key thing here is I think we're going to get to a point where we're doing team racing with SharkByte. I'm really excited for that potential future. And having a path where we can use our transmitter to turn on and off our transmitting of power will be critically important, assuming we can do it in sub-seconds, both on and off. Now, both of these items, because they have a 0 milliwatt option in smart audio, they give us the option of turning off the transmission and turning it back on, and therefore using these inside of team racing. So for racing, to me, that's kind of a non-starter with using the Whoop board. But when you look at these two racing boards, they both have smart audio. That's a key to actually being able to race. The second really nice thing is I do have some issues with this UFL connector. There are times when it falls off or you get it knocked off in a hard crash, and it's hard to keep it locked in. Now, what they've adopted in both of these two new racing boards is a way to put a zip tie or some other screw connector through these ports to make sure that the UFL doesn't pop off. Personally, I've never had an issue with that model, and it works perfectly. So I really like seeing that in both these models. It's really a design made for racing that I really appreciate. As I showed, I do have this currently installed in my Floss racing frame. The good news is it goes in very easily, right? So basically what you're doing is you lose the connector that we had here on the race board. And I gotta admit, I did like this connector, even though it got in the way in my actual build. It did make it easy that if I had to do maintenance on my quad, I could unplug this, pull this out, and not have to worry about it staying too close to my flight controller. Versus this one, basically you lose the connector, and so you have to solder it to these connection points here. The soldering's super simple. I like the way that they've exposed the ports on the side, but I have to give it a little bit of slack, so if I have to do maintenance, I can pull it off my quad, do the work, and put it back on. Not a big deal. I think the space savings is worth it. It probably saved, a tiny bit of a weight as well. So to me, I think it's a good change. But it's just something to be aware of that's a little bit different with the dining room table. So given these two changes, personally, I feel that Byte is ready to take over racing. I feel that for me, I would much rather fly Byte than fly analog. Again, I don't think there's a competitive advantage one way or the other. So I don't think people are going to be jumping like, oh, I need to have this to be competitive. That's not going to be the case at all. But I do think that it is now at an equal playing field where we can start having more fun. And I do feel like these VTXs are a key to doing that. So that being said, this VTX right here, the 20x20, the 5R.2 is perfectly made for that 533 Switchback Zero. That two combination makes for a perfect racing frame in my opinion. And I think we're gonna see a lot of people start adopting that and really, taking that next step in the future, adopting that HD racing. And honestly, I just couldn't be happier. So yeah, that's pretty much my quick go at this. So far, it's worked out exactly the same as the dining room table for me. They work basically the same in performance. So if you're happy with this one, you should be happy with this one as well. Again, I mentioned today, I'm launching this video. Today is also the day to be able to get your hands on one yourself. So definitely keep your eye out, see when that sale goes live, and make sure to grab one if you can, because I think they're gonna go pretty fast. These things are really exciting. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and if so, let me know down below. Are you planning to go to HD Racing? You really holding back? Let me know. One thing I am looking forward to this week is we are seeing some of the top guys racing with Byte at Champs. Let's see how those guys do. Do they keep up with the analog pilots? What do their feeds look like? What do they have to say about it after? I can't wait to check it out. Hopefully you guys too. Let me know down below. And as always, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace!